Alright, for number 8 it says find the roots of the quadratic. So if you remember to find the roots, we're really finding the x-intercepts, and that happens when y is 0 and y is the same as f of x. So first step is to set it equal to 0. So then from here, since it only has two terms, the first term and last term in standard form, by that I mean ax squared is always your first term and it has the x squared term, bx is your middle term and that's missing, and c is negative 25. So it actually has the first and last term here. You can use really two options. You can either try to factor it, which it can be factored, or you could use the isolate x squared method. So I'm going to split this off as two different ways that you can find the x-intercepts. So one method is factoring and the other is isolate x squared. Alright, so for factoring, we're thinking of what factoring method we would use to factor this. 1 is GCF, 2 is difference of squares, 3 is trinomials. Because it only has two terms and a subtraction sign in between them, I would only be looking at options 1 and 2, GCF or difference of squares. I know that x squared is a square and so is 25, so this is actually difference of squares. So you open up two sets of parentheses, you alternate the signs, and x squared splits in the first spots as x times x, and then the 25 splits in the back spots as 5 times 5. After you factor, you apply the zero product property, which says if you're multiplying two numbers together and your answer is 0, then either the first one has to be 0 or the second. So either x plus 5 has to be 0 or the x minus 5 has to be 0. So this is the step that I said you could skip just by flipping the signs, because if you subtract 5 from both sides, you'll notice that you get the opposite sign, negative 5, and then if you add 5 to both sides, you get x is positive 5. So solutions are plus or minus 5. The isolate x squared method works exactly the same way in the terms of you will get the same x-intercepts or roots. You'll just do a different process. So isolating the x squared means get x squared alone. So you would do opposite operations here, or inverse operations. Add 25 to both sides. So you get 25 equals x squared. And then the opposite of squaring x would be taking the square root of both sides. So you have x is equal to, and then the square root of 25 actually has two answers. It's a positive 25 and a negative. So your two solutions are plus or minus 5, which is exactly what you got when you factored.